The world of Christmas is one filled with magic, wonder, and age-old traditions. It is a season that draws people together, evoking memories of family gatherings, warmth, and the simple joy of giving. But beneath the surface of these festive moments lies a deeper, more mysterious world, one that is shaped by centuries of folklore, legends, and myths. The Christmas season, as we know it today, is built on a foundation of stories passed down through generations, each of them weaving together threads of history, culture, and belief. And while Christmas may seem like a modern celebration, many of the customs and figures we associate with it have roots that stretch far back into the distant past, with deep ties to pre-Christian traditions. As we sit by the fire, listen to the gentle fall of snow, and perhaps enjoy a warm drink, it's easy to forget that Christmas, in its various forms, has been celebrated for millennia. And while we may think of it as a joyful, peaceful time of year, the mythology surrounding Christmas holds within it a mix of light and shadow, joy and fear, hope and punishment. The characters that we recognize today, such as Santa Claus, the jolly old man in a red suit, or the more sinister figure of Krampus, represent just a fraction of the vast tapestry of myths and stories that have been created over the centuries. These myths are not only about the celebration of the winter season, but also about the very nature of human existence, filled with both darkness and light. This video will take you on a journey through the heart of Christmas mythology. We'll explore the figure of St. Nicholas, the real man behind the myth of Santa Claus, and trace his evolution into the beloved figure we recognize today. Along the way, we will meet Krampus, the dark companion of St. Nicholas, who serves as both a warning and a reminder of the consequences of bad behavior. We will also uncover the tales of Grandfather Frost, the Russian gift-bringer, and how his legend intertwines with the traditions of the Russian New Year celebrations. And beyond these familiar figures, we will take a step into other folklore traditions, discovering how different cultures have shaped their own stories around the holiday season. As we embark on this journey, it's important to remember that these stories are not just about the past. They are living traditions that continue to influence the way we celebrate and understand Christmas today. While some of the details may have changed over time, the core themes of generosity, kindness, and the celebration of winter's beauty remain as relevant now as they ever were. What makes these myths so enchanting is not just the characters themselves, but the way they speak to universal human experiences, the longing for warmth in the cold of winter, the joy of giving, and the timeless quest for hope during the darkest days of the year. In this exploration, we will not only look at how these figures came to be, but also at the deeper meanings embedded in their stories. Why is it that we need both the benevolent figure of Santa Claus and the fearsome Krampus to define our Christmas celebrations? What is it about the cold, dark winter months that inspires such rich mythology? And what lessons can we learn from these tales about our own lives, our own behavior, and our own celebrations of the season? With each story, we will uncover not only the history of these figures, but also the cultural significance they hold for those who continue to celebrate them. Christmas mythology has a way of connecting the past with the present, drawing on the ancient to shape the modern. These stories remind us that myths are not just fables. They are mirrors of our hopes, fears, and values. They show us the ways in which societies have tried to make sense of the world around them, especially during the long, dark nights of winter, when the warmth of human connection is all the more important. The calm rhythm of this exploration will guide you through these various myths with gentle hand, allowing you to drift into a space of relaxation and introspection. There is something uniquely soothing about tales that are old, that have been told and retold over generations, evolving with each telling, yet always carry with them a sense of the sacred and the timeless. In the stories of St. Nicholas, Krampus, and Grandfather Frost, we will find not just the magic of the season, but also a deeper sense of connection to the world around us, both in the past and in the present. By the end of this journey, you will have not only learned about the fascinating history behind some of the most beloved figures of Christmas, but also felt the calm, reflective atmosphere that these myths inspire. Whether you are listening as you relax before sleep or as a quiet companion during your holiday preparations, these stories will guide you into a peaceful, serene understanding of the deeper magic that Christmas brings. Christmas, as we celebrate today, is a rich tapestry of traditions, customs, and myths that span centuries, cultures, and continents. Yet, as familiar as these traditions may seem, they are actually a blend of countless influences, from ancient winter solstice celebrations to Christian rituals, to regional folklore that was later woven into the holiday. While the modern Christmas that most of us know is often associated with the birth of Jesus Christ, its roots go far deeper into history, connecting a diverse mix of cultures, both pagan and Christian, in a way that reflects the universal human experience of winter and the hope for renewal. At the heart of Christmas traditions lies the ancient celebration of the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. In many cultures, the solstice marked a moment of deep significance, a time when the darkness of winter was at its peak and the return of the sun seemed uncertain. Ancient peoples observed this day with a sense of both reverence and fear, knowing that the long winter nights could be harsh and unforgiving. Yet at the same time, the solstice held the promise of light returning, an assurance that the world would be renewed. This belief in the rebirth of the sun is one of the most enduring themes of winter festivals, and it forms a powerful backdrop for the Christmas holiday. In ancient Rome, the festival of Saturnalia was held in honor of the god Saturn, who symbolized agriculture, wealth, and renewal. Saturnalia was a time of revelry and gift-giving, marked by feasts, merrymaking, and role reversals where slaves and masters would switch places. The festival was celebrated around the time of the winter solstice, and its customs, such as decorating homes with greenery and exchanging gifts, would later influence Christmas traditions. The use of evergreen decorations, such as holly, ivy, and mistletoe, has its roots in these early pagan practices, which sought to ward off evil spirits and encourage prosperity and good health in the coming year. Similarly, in Northern Europe, the celebration of Yule marked the winter solstice with a mixture of pagan customs that celebrated the return of the sun. The Yule log, which was burned to bring warmth and light to the long nights, is another tradition that would eventually become part of Christmas lore. The Yule log, once a massive tree trunk that would burn for several days, symbolized the triumph of light over darkness. In Scandinavian cultures, the Yule goat also played a role in these winter celebrations, representing fertility, harvest, and the coming of a new year. Over time, the Yule goat would evolve into a figure closely associated with Christmas, particularly in Sweden and Finland. As Christianity spread across Europe, many of these ancient solstice festivals and traditions were absorbed into the Christian celebration of Christmas. Rather than replacing the pre-existing winter rituals, early Christians adapted them to reflect the birth of Christ. The Christmas tree, for example, has its origins in the medieval custom of bringing evergreen boughs into homes during the winter months to remind people of the promise of eternal life. By the 16th century, the Christmas tree, as we know it today, was introduced in Germany, where it became a centerpiece of the holiday celebration. The tradition of decorating trees with candles, later replaced by electric lights, echoed the ancient practice of lighting candles to symbolize the return of the sun. The figure of St. Nicholas, whose story is intertwined with Christmas, also has roots that extend beyond Christianity. Nicholas of Myra, a 4th century bishop from what is now Turkey, was known for his acts of kindness and generosity, particularly to children and the poor. His life story was gradually transformed into a legend that would inspire the modern figure of Santa Claus. However, St. Nicholas was not the only figure to contribute to Christmas folklore. In the Alps and parts of Germany, the legend of Krampus, a mischievous and sometimes frightening creature who accompanied St. Nicholas, developed as a way to instill moral behavior in children. While St. Nicholas rewarded good children with gifts, Krampus was said to punish those who misbehaved, a stark contrast that brought a balance of good and evil into the Christmas season. The fusion of Christian and pagan traditions continued as Christmas spread to different parts of the world, each adding its own unique customs to the mix. In Russia, the figure of Dead Moroz, or Grandfather Frost, emerged as a counterpart to Santa Claus, bringing gift to children on New Year's Eve. Unlike the jolly Santa Claus, Dead Moroz is often depicted as a more mysterious and regal figure, accompanied by his granddaughter Sneguraka, the Snow Maiden. This blend of folklore with Christian influences was common in many Eastern European and Slavic cultures, where local legends were woven into the fabric of Christmas celebrations. In the Americas, Christmas took on a distinctly different flavor as various immigrant groups brought their own traditions with them. The early colonial settlers in New England celebrated Christmas with church services, but it was not widely observed as a festive holiday. However, In the 19th century, as European traditions began to influence American society, Christmas became a time for family gatherings, feasts, and gift-giving. It was during this period that the modern image of Santa Claus was solidified, thanks in large part to the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, commonly known as A Night Before Christmas, published in 1823. This poem helped shape the familiar image of Santa Claus as a plump, jolly man who flew around the world on Christmas Eve, delivering gifts to children. The global spread of Christmas also led to the blending of different holiday traditions. In Mexico, for instance, Christmas is celebrated with the tradition of Las Posadas, a reenactment of Mary and Joseph's search for shelter before the birth of Jesus. In other parts of Latin America, the festive season is marked by vibrant celebrations, including fireworks, music, and family gatherings. Similarly, in Italy, Christmas is celebrated with a focus on family meals and nativity scene, or presepe, which is often elaborately displayed in homes and public spaces. In Asia, Christmas is often observed as a secular holiday, with many people focusing more on the festive aspect of the season than its religious significance. In countries like Japan, where Christianity is not widely practiced, Christmas has been adopted as a time for celebration, particularly in cities like Tokyo, where streets are decorated with elaborate light displays and Christmas markets pop up selling everything from food to gifts. In South Korea, Christmas is celebrated as a public holiday, with church services, family gatherings, and festive decorations. Even in predominantly non-Christian countries, Christmas traditions continue to evolve and adapt. The universal themes of warmth, togetherness, and goodwill resonate across cultures, making Christmas one of the most widely celebrated holidays in the world. And though the specific customs may vary, whether it's the Christmas tree in the West, the Yule goat in Sweden, or the vibrant Christmas festivals in the Philippines, each tradition speaks to the same core values of generosity, family, and hope. By tracing the origins of Christmas traditions, we see that the holiday is far more than just a Christian celebration. It is a mosaic of different cultures and beliefs, each contributing its own piece to the holiday's rich and diverse history. The beauty of Christmas lies not only in the traditions we practice today, but also in the shared human experiences that connect us across time and space. The myths, the symbols, and the rituals that we continue to embrace at Christmas are a testament to the enduring power of stories. Stories that have the ability to unite us, inspire us, and remind us of the light that persists even in the darkest times of winter. The story of St. Nicholas is one that has been told and retold for centuries, yet it remains as powerful and captivating as ever. St. Nicholas, the 4th century bishop of Myra in what is now modern-day Turkey, is a figure whose legacy has transcended time and borders, evolving into the beloved figure of Santa Claus. But the man behind the legend, St. Nicholas, was not a jolly figure with a white beard and red suit. Instead, he was a deeply spiritual man, known for his acts of kindness, generosity, and devotion to his faith, which continue to inspire people around the world. Nicholas was born in the city of Patara, located in the region of Lycia, around the year 270 AD. His family was wealthy and devout, and Nicholas was raised in a Christian household. From a young age, he exhibited remarkable piety and a deep sense of compassion for the less fortunate. His early life was marked by personal tragedy, as he lost both of his parents while still a young man. But rather than succumbing to grief, Nicholas chose to use his inheritance to help those in need, particularly the poor and the downtrodden. One of the most famous stories about St. Nicholas involves his generosity toward 3 impoverished sisters. According to legend, the father of the 3 girls was so poor that he could not afford to provide dowries for his daughters, which meant that they would likely be sold into servitude or worse. Upon hearing of their plight, Nicholas decided to help in secret. One night, he stealthily dropped a bag of gold coins through the window of their home, providing enough money for one daughter to marry. He repeated this act of generosity for the other 2 daughters, ensuring that they too had a chance at a better life. This act of anonymous charity is one of the earliest examples of Nicholas's reputation for giving to those in need, without seeking recognition or praise. Nicholas's reputation for kindness and generosity spread quickly, and it wasn't long before he became known as a miracle worker, capable of performing extraordinary feats of compassion. One such tale tells of how Nicholas saved a group of sailors who were caught in a violent storm at sea. The sailors, desperate and fearful for their lives, prayed to St. Nicholas for help. Miraculously, The storm subsided, and the sailors were able to return safely to port. In gratitude, they built a church in Nicholas's honor, a gesture that solidified his place as a beloved saint and protector of sailors. Saint Nicholas's deep devotion to his faith was also evident in his role as a bishop. In the early 4th century, the Christian church was still in its formative stages, and Nicholas became a strong advocate for the faith, both through his actions and his words. He was known for his fierce defense of Christian teachings, particularly during the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, where he is said to have confronted the heretic Arius, who denied the divinity of Christ. In some versions of the story, Nicholas became so enraged by Arius's views that he struck him across the face, an act of righteous indignation that earned him the admiration of his fellow bishops. Despite his strong convictions, Nicholas was also known for his humility, kindness, and compassion, which won him the affection of both the clergy and the common people alike. As a result of his many acts of charity, St. Nicholas became a patron saint of a wide range of people and professions, including children, sailors, merchants, and the poor. His feast day, celebrated on December 6, became an important occasion for Christians throughout Europe. On this day, people would honor St. Nicholas by giving to the needy, sharing meals with family and friends, and participating in various religious ceremonies. In some regions, children would place their shoes outside their homes, hoping that St. Nicholas would fill them with small gifts, a tradition that would later influence the modern custom of leaving stockings for Santa Claus. The impact of St. Nicholas's life and deeds was not limited to the Christian world. His story spread across Europe and beyond, taking on different forms and variations in different cultures. In the Netherlands, for example, St. Nicholas became known as Santa Claus, a figure who would arrive on the evening of December 5th to reward good children and punish the naughty ones. Santa Claus was depicted as a tall, dignified man in a bishop's robes, accompanied by his helpers, known as Zwarte Piet. The celebration of Santa Claus was so popular that when Dutch settlers came to America in the 18th century, they brought the tradition with them, where it eventually evolved into modern-day figure of Santa Claus. In other parts of Europe, St. Nicholas was combined with local folklore and traditions. In Germany, for example, the figure of St. Nicholas was sometimes paired with a more fearsome figure of Krampus, a horned creature who would punish misbehaving children. While St. Nicholas rewarded good children with gifts, Krampus would threaten to take away the naughty ones, creating a stark contrast between the two figures. This duality, St. Nicholas as a figure of kindness and Krampus as a figure of fear, embodies the balance between reward and punishment that is often present in Christmas traditions. Over time, as the story of St. Nicholas spread across the world, his image evolved into the jolly, rotund man we know today as Santa Claus. This transformation was largely shaped by the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, commonly known as A Night Before Christmas, published in 1823. The poem describes Santa Claus as a cheerful, plump man who traveled in a sleigh pulled by reindeer, delivering gifts to children on Christmas Eve. This image of Santa Claus was further popularized by the Coca-Cola Company in the 1930s, which used illustrations of Santa in their holiday advertisements, cementing his image in popular culture as a lovable, bearded man who embodies the spirit of Christmas. Despite the transformation of St. Nicholas into Santa Claus, the essence of his character remains unchanged. Both figures represent the spirit of giving, the joy of generosity, and the belief that good deeds should be rewarded. St. Nicholas's legacy lives on in the millions of children around the world who eagerly anticipate the arrival of Santa Claus, just as his act of charity continue to inspire people to give to those in need. In many ways, the story of St. Nicholas is not just a story of a man who became a saint, but a reflection of the timeless human values of kindness, compassion, and selflessness. The holiday season, with its emphasis on giving and community, is a celebration of these virtues, and St. Nicholas, in his many forms, serves as a reminder of the importance of love and generosity. Whether he is remembered as a bishop who helped the poor, as a protector of sailors, or as a jolly old man who delivers gifts to children around the world, St. Nicholas remains a powerful symbol of the enduring power of kindness and the timeless magic of Christmas. The transformation of St. Nicholas into the figure of Santa Claus is one of the most fascinating stories in the history of Christmas mythology. While St. Nicholas himself was a real, historical figure, a 4th century Christian bishop renowned for his acts of kindness and generosity, Over time, his legend began to evolve, taking on new forms, symbols, and traditions, ultimately culminating in the creation of the modern-day Santa Claus. This process was not a sudden or straightforward one. Instead, it was a gradual blending of folklore, cultural influences, and changing social norms over the centuries. Today, the figure of Santa Claus is known worldwide as the cheerful, plump man who brings gifts to children on Christmas Eve. But his origins are rooted in centuries of stories, legends, and customs from across the globe. The earliest roots of Santa Claus trace back to the figure of Saint Nicholas, the 4th century bishop of Myra in what is now Turkey. Nicholas was known for his generosity to the poor, especially children, and his acts of kindness became legendary. One of the most famous stories tells of how he secretly gave gold to a poor man who could not afford dowries for his 3 daughters, thus saving them from a life of poverty or worse. These tales of selfless giving began to spread throughout Europe, particularly in regions where Christianity took hold, and Nicholas became known as the patron saint of children, sailors, merchants, and the poor. His feast day, celebrated on December 6th, became an important event in the Christian calendar, marked by acts of charity, gift-giving, and celebrations. In medieval Europe, the figure of Saint Nicholas was widely revered, and various customs developed around his feast day. In many countries, children would place their shoes or stockings by the fireplace in hopes that Saint Nicholas would fill them with small gifts or treats, a tradition that would later influence the modern custom of hanging stockings for Santa Claus. In parts of Europe, Saint Nicholas was also depicted as a tall, dignified man dressed in bishop's robes, often accompanied by helpers who would assist him in distributing gifts. However, as the centuries passed, the image of Saint Nicholas began to merge with other regional figures, and his character began to change to reflect the evolving social and religious landscape of Europe. One of the most important factors in the evolution of Santa Claus was the influence of Dutch settlers in the American colonies. In the early 18th century, Dutch immigrants brought with them the tradition of celebrating Sinterklaas, a figure based on Saint Nicholas, who arrived on December 5th to reward good children and punish the naughty ones. Sinterklaas was portrayed as a stately, bishop-like figure with a long beard, a red robe, and a staff. The name Sinterklaas is a contraction of the Dutch words for Saint Nicholas, and it was this figure who would eventually inspire the modern-day Santa Claus. The transformation of Sinterklaas into Santa Claus in America was influenced by a number of factors, including the cultural melting pot that was early American society. As the Dutch influence began to fade, other traditions and elements from different cultures began to blend together to form the figure of Santa Claus. One significant contribution came from the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, better known as The Night Before Christmas, which was published anonymously in 1823. This poem, which painted a vivid picture of Santa Claus as a jolly, plump man who flew through the night sky in a sleigh pulled by reindeer, helps cement the image of Santa Claus as the cheerful, magical figure we recognize today. In the poem, Santa is described as a jolly old elf who comes down chimneys to deliver gifts to children on Christmas Eve, and his reindeer are named in a way that made them famous in their own right. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer will be introduced later, but this poem set the stage for his eventual inclusion. The impact of The Night Before Christmas cannot be overstated in the development of Santa Claus. The poem was widely popular in America, and began to shape the public's perception of St. Nicholas as a warm, happy, and somewhat mischievous figure, a stark contrast to more somber, religious bishop of earlier depictions. This image of Santa Claus as a joyful, magical being who brought gifts to children became so entrenched in American culture that it was further reinforced by the works of artists such as Thomas Nast, a 19th century cartoonist for Harper's Weekly. Nast is credited with creating many of the iconic images of Santa Claus, including the portrayal of Santa as a round, bearded man in a red suit, sitting comfortably with children or surrounded by gifts. Nast's illustrations of Santa, which began appearing in the 1860s, were some of the first to present him as a more playful, benevolent character rather than a stern, bishop-like figure. By the early 20th century, the image of Santa Claus had become firmly established in the American imagination, but it was in the 1930s that his appearance and public persona reached new heights of commercial visibility. The Coca-Cola Company, in an effort to sell more soft drinks during the winter months, began using Santa Claus in their holiday advertising campaigns. The first Coca-Cola advertisements featuring Santa appeared in 1931, and they featured a plump, rosy-cheeked Santa enjoying a Coke, dressed in the now iconic red suit with white fur trim. The success of these advertisements helped solidify the image of Santa Claus as a warm, friendly figure associated with the holiday season, and the Coca-Cola Santa became the most widely recognized version of the character around the world. As Santa Claus continued to evolve, his character became more and more commercialized, reflecting the changing nature of the holiday season itself. By the mid-20th century, Santa had become a central figure in Christmas advertising, movies, and television specials. He appeared in countless forms of media, further embedding himself in popular culture. Yet, despite his commercialization, the core values of Santa Claus, generosity, joy, and the spirit of giving, remained central to his identity. Throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, Santa Claus continued to adapt and change in response to societal shifts, but his enduring image as a symbol of warmth, kindness, and holiday cheer remained unchanged. His connection to St. Nicholas, while less emphasized in modern portrayals, still exists at the heart of his story. The figure of Santa Claus is not just a secular icon of commercialism. He is a reflection of the deeply human need for kindness, charity, and togetherness during the coldest, darkest days of the year. Today, Santa Claus is a global figure, recognized by people of all ages and backgrounds. He transcends cultural and national boundaries, and his image has become an enduring symbol of Christmas cheer, goodwill, and the joy of giving. His journey from a humble bishop in ancient Myra to the jovial gift-giver we know today is a testament to the power of myth, storytelling, and the ever-changing nature of cultural traditions. While the modern Santa Claus may be a far cry from the saintly figure of St. Nicholas, his legacy, rooted in generosity and compassion, continues to inspire people around the world to embrace the spirit of Christmas in all its forms. The figure of Santa Claus, now an iconic symbol of Christmas, has undergone a remarkable transformation in popular culture. From his origins as a pious St. Nicholas, a 4th century Christian bishop, to the modern, jolly man in a red suit who spreads holiday cheer, Santa has been shaped and reshaped through literature, art, advertising, and mass media. The Santa Claus we recognize today is a product of centuries of cultural evolution, and his depiction has adapted to reflect the social and commercial forces of the times. While the essence of Santa, the spirit of giving, kindness, and the magic of Christmas, remains unchanged, the way he is portrayed has shifted to align with the values and expectations of each era. One of the most significant milestones in the popularization of Santa Claus occurred in the 19th century with the publication of the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, more commonly known as The Night Before Christmas, in 1823. This poem, which introduced key elements of Santa's image, such as his jolly demeanor, the reindeer, and the idea of traveling down chimneys to deliver gifts, was instrumental in shaping the way people imagined Santa Claus. The poem's portrayal of Santa as a cheerful, plump figure with a white beard and red suit helps cement his association with joy and festive warmth. In the poem, Santa is a joyful figure who embodies the spirit of the holiday season, with an almost magical quality that allows him to visit all the children in one night, bringing gifts to reward their good behavior. This image of Santa Claus quickly took root in American culture, and by the mid-19th century, it spread throughout the Western world. Artists like Thomas Nast, an illustrator for Harper's Weekly, further shaped Santa's appearance with detailed illustrations in the 1860s and 1870s. Nast's portrayal of Santa as a plump, bearded man in a red suit helped establish the Santa figure as we know him today. His illustrations, published annually, contributed to the image of Santa as a benevolent and magical figure who embodied the spirit of Christmas. Nast's Santa was not just a gift bringer, but also a symbol of joy, warmth, and kindness, an embodiment of the best qualities of the holiday season. By the early 20th century, Santa Claus had become a central figure in Christmas advertising, with his image used to promote everything from toys to Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola's 1931 holiday campaign played a crucial role in cementing the modern image of Santa Claus as a plump, rosy-cheeked man in a red suit with white fur trim. This version of Santa, portrayed in a series of advertisements, became so deeply ingrained in the public consciousness that it effectively shaped the worldwide understanding of the character. The company's marketing campaigns contributed to the global spread of the familiar Santa Claus image, making him a symbol not only of Christmas, but also of holiday cheer, goodwill, and family togetherness. While the commercial portrayal of Santa Claus was widely embraced, the figure also took on new, more playful roles in popular culture, reflecting the changing nature of society. In the 20th century, Santa Claus became a frequent character in movies, television shows, and other forms of entertainment. Films like Miracle on 34th Street, 1947, and The Santa Claus, 1994, helped to reinforce the modern image of Santa Claus as a jolly, benevolent figure who spreads happiness and holiday magic. These movies depicted Santa as a figure of boundless goodwill, one who could solve problems and create moments of joy and wonder for children and adults alike. In these films, Santa often embodies the idea that Christmas is a time for people to come together, put aside differences, and celebrate the season's magic. In addition to traditional media, Santa Claus became an integral part of pop culture through the rise of television. Holiday specials such as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 1964, and A Charlie Brown Christmas, 1965, introduced new dimensions to Santa's character, making him an even more recognizable part of the Christmas experience. These animated specials, while focusing on other aspects of the holiday season, included Santa Claus as a central figure who interacted with beloved characters, often bringing comfort and joy to those in need. These portrayals added layers of charm and familiarity to Santa's persona, reinforcing the notion that he was not just a symbol of material gifts, but also the joy of sharing and caring for others. The portrayal of Santa Claus in popular culture has not been limited to traditional holiday stories. Over the years, the figure of Santa has also appeared in a variety of unconventional, sometimes humorous, ways in movies, cartoons, and other forms of media. For example, in films like Bad Santa, 2003, Santa Claus is depicted as a deeply flawed character, a far cry from the jolly, wholesome figure of the traditional Christmas legend. These more irreverent portrayals reflect the modern, more complex relationship people have with the commercialization of Christmas and the expectations surrounding the holiday. While these portrayals of Santa may be comedic or satirical, they still maintain the core essence of his character, a figure whose presence is synonymous with the holiday season and its significance to family and society. In addition to films and advertising, Santa Claus has become a central figure in holiday-themed music, further cementing his place in popular culture. Songs like Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Here Comes Santa Claus, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer have made Santa an integral part of the Christmas music canon. These songs, often played on repeat during the holiday season, help reinforce the image of Santa Claus as a cheerful and magical figure who brings joy to children around the world. The popularity of these songs in turn contributes to the widespread recognition of Santa Claus, ensuring that his image is as relevant today as it was in past generations. As Santa Claus's image has evolved in popular culture, he has also been integrated into the global celebration of Christmas. While his appearance may vary slightly from country to country, such as his association with the more reserved figure Père Noël in France or the traditional British Father Christmas, the core attributes of Santa remain the same, a symbol of joy, generosity, and holiday spirit. His image has crossed cultural and religious boundaries, and today, Santa Claus is a universally recognized figure, one who transcends regional and national differences. The ubiquity of Santa Claus in global media, advertising, and retail has made him a symbol not only of Christmas, but also of the secular and universal values of love, compassion, and togetherness. Despite his widespread commercialization, Santa Claus continues to embody the magic and wonder of Christmas for many people, especially children. His image remains tied to the joy of the holiday season and to the belief that, for one night a year, anything is possible. Santa Claus represents the ideal of giving without expecting anything in return. His figure continues to inspire people of all ages to embrace the spirit of generosity, kindness, and goodwill during the Christmas season. In many ways, the modern-day depiction of Santa Claus has come full circle. The once solemn and saintly figure of St. Nicholas has evolved into a beloved global icon who is both a symbol of Christmas cheer and a central figure in the commercialized holiday landscape. Yet, beneath the red suit and the twinkling eyes, the essence of Santa Claus remains rooted in the same values that have defined him for centuries: the power of giving, the joy of family, and the magic of the Christmas season. While the story of Santa Claus has become the dominant narrative in Christmas mythology, there exists a darker and more sinister counterpart that has been a part of the Christmas tradition for centuries. This figure, known as Krampus, serves as a stark contrast to the jolly, gift-bringing Santa Claus, embodying the fear and punishment that are often linked to the consequences of misbehavior. Krampus, a horned and fearsome creature from Central and Eastern European folklore, is a reminder that not all tales of Christmas are wrapped in warmth and cheer. His presence in holiday traditions is as old as the more benevolent figures like Saint Nicholas, yet his role has evolved differently, transforming into a figure that combines both terror and morality. The origins of Krampus can be traced back to pre-Christian Alpine traditions in Europe, particularly in regions that are now parts of Austria, Germany, and Hungary. These areas, rich in folklore, held strong beliefs in spirits and creatures that wandered the land during the long, dark winter months. The concept of Krampus is deeply rooted in the ancient beliefs of these cultures, where winter solstice celebrations often included mythological beings who represented both the good and the bad in society. Krampus, whose name is believed to come from the German word Krampen, meaning claw, is depicted as a half-goat, half-demon figure with fur-covered legs, horns, and a long, flicking tongue. His face is twisted into a grotesque snarl, and he is often shown carrying chains and a bundle of birch sticks, which he uses to whip children who have misbehaved. In traditional depictions, Krampus is the foil to Saint Nicholas. While Saint Nicholas rewards well-behaved children with gifts, Krampus is said to punish those who have been naughty. Depending on the version of the story, Krampus either threatens to beat children with his birch sticks or, in the most frightening versions of myth, kidnaps them, dragging them away to his lair to be eaten or otherwise consumed. This duality, Saint Nicholas offering gifts and Krampus delivering punishment, creates a stark moral lesson, one that balances a joyous celebration of the holiday with a reminder of the consequences of bad behavior. This juxtaposition, which is unique to certain European Christmas traditions, emphasizes the importance of good deeds and moral conduct during the holiday season. Krampus's role in Christmas festivities varies depending on the region, but in many areas of Austria and Bavaria, the Krampus or Krampus Run is a popular event during the Christmas season. On the night of December 5th, which is known as Krampusnacht, Krampus Night, people dress up as Krampus, donning elaborate costumes and masks, and take to the streets to frighten onlookers. The event, while intended as a form of festive entertainment, is a powerful reminder of the creature's origins as a figure of terror. The Krampuslauf is often accompanied by parades, parties, and festivals, and in some regions, Krampus has become a subject of artistic expression, with modern-day artists creating elaborate representations of the creature for galleries and public displays. Although Krampus's terrifying image and role as a punisher of the naughty may seem incompatible with the warmth and goodwill typically associated with Christmas, the figure has remained an important part of Christmas traditions in many parts of Europe. The character serves as a cautionary figure, embodying the concept of justice and the importance of upholding moral behavior, especially during the holiday season. For many, the story of Krampus represents a way of teaching children about the consequences of misbehavior in a way that is both memorable and striking. Interestingly, Krampus has enjoyed a resurgence in popular culture in recent years. In the 21st century, the dark figure Krampus has been reinterpreted and reinvented in various forms of media, from movies to literature, adding a new layer of intrigue and mystery to the myth. Films like Krampus, 2015, directed by Michael Dougherty, and the Krampus episodes from TV series like American Horror Story have brought this once feared figure back into the limelight, introducing him to a new generation of audiences. In these modern adaptations, Krampus is often depicted as a mischievous yet malevolent creature who wreaks havoc on families during the Christmas season, blending elements of horror with dark comedy. While these depictions of Krampus play on the creature's terrifying nature, they also add a layer of humor and exaggeration, turning him into a character who exists somewhere between folklore villain and pop culture antihero. The resurgence of Krampus in contemporary media reflects a growing fascination with the darker side of Christmas and the holiday season in general. As society has become increasingly secular and commercialized, traditional notions of Christmas have evolved, and many people are seeking to reconnect with the more complex, multifaceted nature of the holiday. The figure of Krampus, with his ties to ancient mythology and his unsettling role in Christmas folklore, offers a way to explore the shadowy aspects of the holiday that are often overlooked in mainstream Christmas celebrations. Krampus's resurgence also speaks to a broader cultural trend in which darker, more complex themes are gaining popularity in storytelling and entertainment. Just as the figure of Santa Claus has evolved into a symbol of universal joy and giving, Krampus represents the darker aspect of human nature and the consequences of moral failure. Both figures serve as reflections of the duality inherent in the human experience, the constant balance between light and dark, good and evil, reward and punishment. By incorporating Krampus into modern Christmas celebrations and media, there's a conscious effort to acknowledge and explore these themes in a more nuanced way. However, it is important to note that Krampus has never completely disappeared from European Christmas traditions. In countries like Austria, Germany, and part of Hungary, the myth of Krampus is still alive and well, and many people continue to celebrate Krampusnacht with reverence and excitement. The figure remains a part of the Christmas landscape, reminding people that the holiday season is not just about joy and gift-giving, but also about morality, discipline, and the consequences of one's actions. In this sense, Krampus is not just a figure of fear, but also a reflection of the enduring need for balance in human behavior. In some ways, Krampus represents the shadow side of the holiday season, those moments when the joy of Christmas can be overshadowed by stress, frustration, and disappointment. The terrifying figure of Krampus serves as a reminder that Christmas is not just a time for unbridled merriment, but also a time to reflect on the deeper meanings of the season. His role as both a punisher and a teacher makes him an integral part of the complex mythology surrounding Christmas, and his presence in modern pop culture ensures that his legend will continue to evolve and remain relevant in the years to come. Thus, while Santa Claus may embody the ideals of generosity, warmth, and goodwill, Krampus reminds us that there is also a place for discipline, morality, and a healthy respect for the consequences of our actions. The two figures together form a perfect balance, offering a comprehensive view of the Christmas season that is both celebratory and reflective. Krampus, with his terrifying visage and role as a punisher, is as much a part of the Christmas story as Santa Claus, helping to provide the moral framework that underpins the entire holiday. While Krampus remains predominantly European figure, his influence has stretched far beyond the Alpine regions where his legend originated, leaving its mark on various Christmas traditions worldwide. As we explore the broader scope of how Krampus's legacy has influenced other cultures and holiday practices, it becomes clear that his role in folklore is more than just that of a frightening figure. Krampus has often served as a symbol of moral balance, blending the dark and light sides of the holiday season, and this duality has affected how other Christmas myths and traditions have evolved over time. His presence within different cultures, even if not always directly acknowledged, speaks to the universal desire for the holidays to carry deeper meanings about human nature, behavior, and the consequences of one's actions. One of the most direct ways Krampus has influenced other Christmas traditions is through the development of counterpart figures or similar mythical creatures. In many cultures across Europe, the figure of Krampus has parallels with other mythological characters who also embody the concept of punishment for misdeeds, or represent a shadowy or mischievous aspect of the holiday season. In Italy, for instance, there is a figure of La Befana, a kindly old witch who delivers presents to children on Epiphany Eve. However, while La Befana is generally benevolent, she is sometimes depicted as a figure of discipline, punishing naughty children with coal or vinegar if they have been bad during the year. Much like Krampus, La Befana's gifts and punishments carry the dual messages of reward and consequence, teaching children about the importance of good behavior. In the United Kingdom and parts of Scandinavia, the figure of the Yule goat shares certain thematic elements with Krampus. Originating in Scandinavian folklore, the Yule goat was initially a mischievous creature who would visit homes during the Christmas season, sometimes as a figure of mischief, and at other times as one who helped deliver gifts or perform chores. Over time, the Yule goat evolved into a more positive figure, assisting in the gift-giving process and helping with holiday preparations. However, its early depictions bear similarities to Krampus in its mischievous and at times threatening behavior. In Finland, for example, the Yule goat was known to appear at night to frighten children, a role that would be mirrored by Krampus's terrifying antics. Beyond Europe, Krampus has also found a place in the folklore of other regions, particularly in parts of North America, where European traditions have been transplanted. The figure of Santa Claus in the United States, for example, is often juxtaposed with the more modern versions of Krampus seen in pop culture. While Santa Claus brings joy and gifts to well-behaved children, there remains a cultural understanding that Christmas also carries with the lessons of moral responsibility and consequence. In this sense, Santa's role as a rewarder of the good contrasts against Krampus's function as a punisher of the naughty. Although not as overtly terrifying as Krampus, American Christmas celebrations still carry undertones of moral teaching, especially through songs, movies, and folklore that warn of the consequences of being naughty. In other parts of the world, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, Krampus has been somewhat absorbed into the larger idea of Christmas monsters or figures who focus on discipline and moral lessons. In Mexico and Central America, for instance, the tradition of the Diablo, the devil, in holiday folklore shares several similarities with Krampus. In the context of Christmas, Diablo appears as a figure who might attempt to trick children into bad behavior, only to be outwitted or defeated by the forces of good. This concept plays on the dual nature of Christmas, the light and dark, and shows how, even in cultures that may not directly acknowledge Krampus, the idea of a figure who embodies both joy and fear during the holiday season is universal. In Latin American traditions, particularly in the southwestern United States, there exists a figure known as El Caganer in Catalan culture, though this is more of a humorous rather than terrifying figure. El Caganer is traditionally depicted as a peasant figure defecating in a nativity scene, a symbol of fertility and renewal. While not a direct link to Krampus, El Caganer serves to demonstrate how even the most joyful and sacred of Christmas depictions can include playful and irreverent elements, much like how Krampus juxtaposes the sacred with the sinister. In these cases, the holiday's deeper meanings are sometimes conveyed through lighthearted, yet somewhat offbeat, figures that play with the expectations of the season. In other parts of Europe, where Krampus still has a strong presence, his role as a reminder of personal responsibility extends beyond Christmas. The Krampus legend often intersects with the broader European tradition of the 12 days of Christmas and the Advent period, a time associated with both spiritual reflection and material preparation for the Christmas season. Krampus, in this sense, acts as an agent of the pre-Christmas period, a reminder to prepare not just gifts, but also one's moral conduct. The practice of dressing up as Krampus, as seen in countries like Austria, Germany, and parts of the Czech Republic, emphasizes this connection, with people physically embodying the fearsome figure of Krampus during parades and festivals. These traditions emphasize the balance of light and dark, with both the festive celebrations of Christmas and the moral lessons of accountability and righteousness being essential to the cultural understanding of the holiday. What is particularly fascinating about Krampus's influence on global Christmas traditions is how he has been embraced and adapted into modern celebrations. In recent decades, Krampus has been experiencing something of a renaissance in popular culture, especially in the United States. The rise of horror films, literature, and dark comedy has helped revitalize interest in this figure, once relegated to the darker corners of Christmas mythology. Movies like Krampus, 2015, and television specials based on Krampus have contributed to a renewed fascination with this terrifying figure, highlighting his enduring relevance as both a folkloric character and a modern cultural icon. The modern portrayal of Krampus in film and media often plays up his monstrous and mischievous nature, blending horror with humor and establishing Krampus as a figure that is both frightening and oddly entertaining. In fact, the horror comedy genre in particular has embraced Krampus as a way to explore the juxtaposition between lighthearted Christmas themes and darker, more sinister forces. These portrayals give rise to a new interpretation of Krampus, not just as a figure of terror, but also as a figure that acknowledges the more complicated, multifaceted emotions people experience during the holiday season. Stress, frustration, and anxiety, alongside the joy and celebration that Christmas brings. This portrayal of Krampus in pop culture has made him a symbol of the multifaceted nature of human experience, reminding audiences that the holiday season is not just about unchecked joy, but also about confronting the fears and pressures that accompany the festivities. As Krampus's influence spreads, his role as a cautionary figure becomes even more apparent in modern Christmas celebrations. In some ways, Krampus serves as a reminder that the holidays are not always perfect or ideal, and that real-life consequences exist alongside the festive imagery. His presence in parades, films, and art also brings forth a greater recognition that, While the holidays should be joyous, they are also a time for reflection and personal growth. The modern world is often filled with commercial pressures and unrealistic expectations about the holiday season. Krampus, with his dark, mischievous antics, serves as a reminder that, amidst consumerism and cheer, one must not forget the true essence of the holidays: moral responsibility, human connection, and the need for balance between light and dark. In conclusion, Krampus's influence on other Christmas traditions is far-reaching, often crossing cultural, geographic, and temporal boundaries. Whether through direct counterparts in European folklore or through more subtle influences in global Christmas celebrations, Krampus has shaped the holiday in ways that reflect a universal need for balance, morality, and deeper reflection. From the Alps to America, his legacy remains a testament to the complexity of human nature and the timeless need for stories that teach us about both the light and dark sides of life. In the vast and snowy expanse of Russia, where winter reigns for much of the year, the figure of Grandfather Frost stands as a central character in the country's wintertime traditions. Unlike St. Nicholas, whose journey toward becoming Santa Claus was shaped by centuries of European folklore, Grandfather Frost, or Dead Moros, as he is known in Russian, has his roots in pre-Christian Slavic traditions, where he emerged as a spirit of winter and cold. Over time, this figure was transformed into a benevolent gift-bringer, embodying the magic of the Russian winter and bringing warmth and joy during the darkest months of the year. Grandfather Frost, with his long white beard, sparkling robe, and icy powers, stands as a symbol of winter's grandeur, while also carrying with him the deep cultural and historical significance of Russia's rich and varied folklore. The origins of Grandfather Frost can be traced back to ancient Slavic mythology, where he was not originally the jolly figure we recognize today, but rather a more ambiguous spirit associated with winter's harshness. In these early beliefs, Frost was often viewed as a more neutral figure, neither strictly good nor evil. As winter descended, he would blanket the earth in snow and ice, freezing rivers and lakes, and creating a landscape of stark beauty and danger. In many ways, the early Grandfather Frost was a reminder of the duality of nature, the cold that could bring destruction, but also the cold that was necessary for the renewal of life. The character of Grandfather Frost evolved over time, particularly in the context of Russian Christianity. By the 19th century, Grandfather Frost began to take on the characteristics of a more benevolent figure, blending elements of traditional Russian folklore with Christian influences. In this more modern version of the myth, Dead Moros became a gift-bringer, similar to the way St. Nicholas and later Santa Claus were perceived in Western Europe. As the Russian Orthodox Church became more influential, Grandfather Frost's role shifted to one of generosity and kindness. He began to deliver presents to children, much like his European counterparts, but his arrival was often more tied to New Year's celebrations and Christmas, which in Russia was overshadowed by the more sacred holiday of the Orthodox Christian Church. A key aspect of Grandfather Frost's evolution as a holiday figure is the way in which he is tied to Russian New Year's traditions. In the Soviet Union, after the Russian Revolution and the subsequent rise of communism, Christmas was largely suppressed as a religious holiday. Instead, New Year's Day became the primary winter celebration, and Grandfather Frost became a central figure in this new secular holiday. This shift allowed Grandfather Frost to retain his status as a holiday figure, but without the religious associations that had previously surrounded him. New Year's Eve in Russia became a time for families to come together, exchange gifts, and celebrate the new year with a sense of renewal and hope. Grandfather Frost, with his winter magic and gift-giving spirit, became an integral part of these celebrations. Grandfather Frost's role as a New Year's figure is deeply symbolic. In Russian folklore, winter is often seen as a time of dormancy and quiet, a period of rest before the rebirth of spring. The presence of Grandfather Frost during this time represents both the stillness of winter and the anticipation of what is to come. His role in the New Year celebration serves to bridge the gap between the old year and the new, marking the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. This transition from the old year to the new is celebrated with great enthusiasm in Russia, and Grandfather Frost's gift-giving and jovial spirit add to the sense of joy and optimism that the holiday represents. A key companion to Grandfather Frost in Russian holiday traditions is his granddaughter, Sneguraka, or the Snow Maiden. Sneguraka is often depicted as a young, beautiful figure made of snow, and she plays an important role in New Year's festivities alongside dead Moros. Together, they visit families during the holiday season, bringing presents and spreading cheer. Sneguraka is often portrayed as a gentle and kind character who helps Grandfather Frost deliver gifts to children, much like how Santa Claus is sometimes accompanied by his helpers. The relationship between Grandfather Frost and Sneguraka reflects the warmth and familial bonds that are central to Russian holiday celebrations. While dead Moros represents the cold and power of winter, Sneguraka embodies the purity and innocence of snow, adding a layer of gentleness and beauty to the holiday. As with other holiday figures, the depiction of Grandfather Frost has evolved over time, particularly in modern media and popular culture. In the Soviet era, dead Moros was often portrayed as a more formal, authoritative figure, dressed in a long, fur-lined robe and a hat, carrying a staff to symbolize his control over the winter elements. However, in more recent depictions, especially in films, cartoons, and holiday advertisements, Grandfather Frost has taken on a more approachable and warm persona. His once stern and distant demeanor has softened, making him more relatable and endearing to modern audiences. Despite these changes, the core attributes of Grandfather Frost remain consistent. He is still a symbol of winter's power, a figure of kindness, and a bringer of gifts and joy during the holiday season. Grandfather Frost is not only a central figure in Russia's holiday celebrations, but also a character who has influenced a broader cultural understanding of Christmas and New Year's traditions in Slavic countries. In neighboring countries like Ukraine, Belarus, and other parts of Eastern Europe, Grandfather Frost has been adopted into local customs, and his name may vary depending on the region, Moros, dead Moros, or even Grandfather Frost. While the specific customs may differ, the character's essential qualities remain the same. He is the embodiment of winter, the guardian of the new year, and a symbol of the joyful celebrations that mark the changing of the seasons. One of the most interesting aspects of Grandfather Frost mythology is how he contrasts with other, darker figures in the Slavic tradition. Unlike Krampus, whose role as a punisher of misbehaving children has made him a figure of fear, Grandfather Frost is a more nurturing figure, albeit one who still embodies the power and severity of winter. In Russian folklore, the winter season is often associated with harshness and struggle, yet dead Moros' gift-giving is a reminder that even in the coldest, darkest months of the year, there is still joy, warmth, and hope. In this way, Grandfather Frost represents a balance between the harshness of nature and the kindness of humanity, a duality that is essential to many wintertime myths and traditions. Grandfather Frost's connection to nature and the changing of the seasons also highlights the deep spiritual and cultural ties that the Russian people have to the land. Russia's long winters are harsh and unrelenting, yet they also bring a certain kind of beauty and peace. The image of Grandfather Frost, with his ice-blue robes and frosty beard, encapsulates the awe-inspiring power of the Russian winter, while also reminding people of the importance of community and togetherness during this challenging season. His gift-giving traditions, intertwined with the celebration of the new year, bring people closer, reinforcing the values of family, generosity, and hope that are central to Russian culture. In conclusion, Grandfather Frost is more than just a holiday figure in Russian folklore. He is a symbol of winter's majesty and mystery, a reminder of the passage of time, and protector who brings joy during the coldest months of the year. From his ancient roots as a spirit of winter to his modern-day role as a gift-bringer alongside Sneguraka, dead Moros continues to be a beloved figure in Russia and other Slavic countries. His enduring presence in holiday celebrations reflects the timeless connection between culture, nature, and the human spirit, making him a powerful and enduring symbol of wintertime magic. Christmas mythology, with its rich tapestry of stories and figures, such as St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Krampus, and Grandfather Frost, has not remained confined to Europe. Over centuries, these myths have spread across the world, transcending national, cultural, and religious boundaries. The global spread and adaptation of these figures and the traditions surrounding them reflect how stories evolve and adapt to different cultures, climates, and societal values. While some elements of mythology have remained largely intact, many cultures have infused their own local flavors, transforming the characters and rituals to better align with their customs and beliefs. This process of adaptation has helped solidify Christmas as a global holiday, one that carries different meanings for people in different parts of the world, but still shares core themes of giving, joy, and community. The first step in understanding the global spread of Christmas mythology is to look at the role of European colonization, trade, and migration in disseminating these traditions. The stories of St. Nicholas and his transformation into Santa Claus spread across Europe, and then to the Americas, as people from different European nations began settling in the New World. Dutch settlers, for example, brought with them the tradition of Santa Claus, which would later blend with local American customs to create the figure of Santa Claus. This process of cultural exchange was not limited to the Dutch. French, British, and German traditions all made their way to the United States and Canada, where they were further adapted to suit the local culture. Santa Claus's image, in particular, has evolved dramatically as it spread across the world. While the modern-day Santa Claus as a rotund, jolly man in a red suit may have originated in the United States, it has since become a universal figure recognized and embraced across different cultures and countries. In the United Kingdom, Santa Claus is often called Father Christmas, and in parts of Europe, he is referred to as Papa Noel or Père Noël in French-speaking regions. Despite these different names, the essence of the character remains the same. He is a benevolent figure who brings gifts to children on Christmas Eve. In many parts of the world, Santa Claus is now considered the central figure of Christmas celebrations, even in places where the holiday is not primarily religious in nature. However, while Santa Claus has become a global icon, other figures from Christmas mythology have also made their way across borders and adapted to local customs. In many parts of Europe, particularly in Austria and Germany, Krampus continues to be an important part of the holiday season. Over time, the Krampus myth has spread to countries like the United States, where it has experienced a resurgence in popular culture through films, television shows, and Halloween celebrations. The dark and menacing figure of Krampus offers a contrast to Santa's jolly nature, highlighting the duality of Christmas traditions. On one hand, there's the joy and generosity associated with Santa, and on the other, there's the fear and discipline represented by Krampus. The ongoing fascination with Krampus in countries like the United States, as well as in other parts of the world, underscores the enduring appeal of Christmas mythology's darker aspects. The character of Grandfather Frost has also traveled beyond Russia's borders, though his journey has been a more regionally focused one. As the central figure of New Year celebrations in Russia and parts of Eastern Europe, Dead Moros has found a place in the holiday traditions of neighboring countries, including Belarus, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan. In these regions, Grandfather Frost is often accompanied by Sneguraka, his granddaughter, who plays a prominent role in the New Year's festivities. While Grandfather Frost's image is more tied to New Year's Day rather than Christmas, his gift-giving role and association with winter magic have made him a beloved figure in these regions. In fact, Grandfather Frost's importance in Russian and Eastern European celebrations is such that in some countries, he is regarded as the primary gift-bringer rather than Santa Claus. The influence of these figures is not limited to their places of origin. In Latin American countries, for example, the Christmas season is deeply intertwined with the figure of El Niño Jesus, the Christ child, and the religious aspects of Christmas. However, Santa Claus has made significant inroads into the region, especially in countries like Mexico and Argentina, where he is seen as a symbol of secular Christmas festivities. In these countries, Santa Claus is often seen as part of the broader global Christmas celebration, and his image has been adapted into the local culture. In Mexico, for instance, Santa Claus is blended with elements of the traditional pastores, shepherds, and other local figures, but his influence is still predominantly American. This blending of local traditions with global figures highlights the ongoing process of cultural exchange as Christmas mythology continues to evolve across the globe. In Asia, the adaptation of Christmas mythology has followed a different path. While Christmas is not widely celebrated as a religious holiday in many parts of Asia, the global spread of Western pop culture, including films, music, and advertisements, has led to the incorporation of Santa Claus into holiday celebrations, especially in countries like Japan and South Korea. In Japan, for instance, Christmas is often celebrated as a secular, commercial event, with couples exchanging gifts and elaborate Christmas lights decorating cities. The figure of Santa Claus, introduced through Western media, has become part of this festive atmosphere, though it is often more associated with materialism and romance rather than religious or familial traditions. In South Korea, Christmas is a public holiday, but the celebration is largely secular, with Christmas trees, lights, and Santa Claus figures appearing throughout cities. In both countries, Christmas is seen as a time for fun and excitement, with Santa Claus playing a more symbolic, rather than spiritual role. The influence of Christmas mythology in Africa is less pronounced than in other regions, but it is growing, especially in countries with significant Christian populations. In South Africa, Christmas is celebrated with a blend of Western traditions and local customs, such as enjoying a summer holiday with family and friends. Santa Claus has become an increasingly popular figure in African Christmas celebrations, though he is often adapted to suit the local climate and culture. For example, in countries like Nigeria and Kenya, where Christmas falls during the warm summer months, depictions of Santa Claus may include a lighter wardrobe, with Santa often shown in summer attire or even traditional African clothing. This adaptation highlights how global figures are modified to fit the local context, making them more relatable and accessible to different audiences. The spread of Christmas mythology and its adaptation to local cultures is not just about the migration of figures like Santa Claus and Krampus. It is also about how the core themes of these stories, generosity, kindness, community, and the celebration of life, resonate with people across the world. The stories surrounding Christmas, whether centered on St. Nicholas's selfless gift-giving, Krampus's moral discipline, or Grandfather Frost's winter magic, all touch on universal human experiences and values. As Christmas mythology has spread, it has become a way for people from different cultures to connect with one another, finding common ground in the shared celebration of love, family, and the beauty of the holiday season. In conclusion, the global spread and adaptation of Christmas mythology reflect both the power and flexibility of these stories. While the core figures of St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Krampus, and Grandfather Frost have remained central to the holiday's narrative, they have also been molded and reshaped by the cultures that have embraced them. From North America to Europe, Latin America to Asia, and Africa to Oceania, Christmas mythology has evolved into a global celebration, one that transcends its Christian origins to become a symbol of joy, giving, and community around the world. The ability of these myths to adapt to local contexts while retaining their universal themes is a testament to the enduring power of storytelling and the shared human need for connection during the holiday season. The commercialization of Christmas myths is a significant chapter in the broader story of how holiday traditions have evolved in the modern world. While the core of Christmas mythology, embodied in figures such as St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Krampus, and Grandfather Frost, remains deeply rooted in cultural and religious practices, the holiday's transformation into a global, market-driven event has significantly altered how these myths are perceived and celebrated. The intertwining of commerce and tradition has created a holiday season that is not only about familial and spiritual bonding, but also about consumerism, advertising, and the economic opportunities that come with it. Over the past century, the commercialization of Christmas has played a crucial role in shaping how these mythical figures are presented, understood, and celebrated, influencing everything from gift-giving traditions to the portrayal of these figures in popular media. The process of commercialization began in earnest during the 19th and early 20th centuries, as industrialization and mass production changed the way people celebrated the holiday season. Christmas, once a more intimate, family-centered holiday, became increasingly linked to buying and giving of goods. This shift was largely driven by the rise of retail businesses, who saw the holiday as an opportunity to boost sales. Department stores, in particular, played a pivotal role in shaping the modern Christmas experience, offering everything from decorations to toys and later electronics and luxury goods. The rise of the department store Santa Claus, especially in the United States, helped solidify the image of Santa as a commercial icon, one who was not only responsible for delivering joy, but also for symbolizing the commercial heart of Christmas. One of the most notable developments in the commercialization of Christmas myths occurred through advertising. Perhaps the most famous example is the Coca-Cola Company's campaign featuring Santa Claus, which began in the 1930s. In these advertisements, Santa was portrayed as a plump, jolly man in a red suit, with rosy cheeks and a white beard, an image that quickly became ingrained in the public consciousness. The Coca-Cola Santa Claus, while inspired by earlier depictions of the figure, is often credited with solidifying the modern, widely recognized version of Santa Claus that continues to dominate Christmas imagery today. This portrayal, featuring a cheerful, approachable Santa enjoying a Coke, while delivering gifts, helped commercialize not only the image of Santa Claus, but also the entire holiday experience, turning Christmas into a marketing goldmine for consumer products. The Coca-Cola campaign marked the beginning of a broader trend in which Christmas mythology was increasingly used to sell products, reinforce brand loyalty, and create emotional connections with consumers. The use of Christmas figures like Santa Claus in advertising became a way to tap into the holiday's emotional resonance, the warmth, generosity, and sense of nostalgia that Christmas evoked. By associating their products with these emotions, companies could market their goods in a way that made them seem more meaningful, more connected to the spirit of the season. This trend was particularly strong in the United States, where Christmas marketing campaigns became a significant part of the retail landscape. For example, stores like Macy's and J.C. Penney began to feature elaborate Christmas displays, including live Santas, model trains, and beautifully decorated Christmas trees, transforming their stores into veritable winter wonderlands. This commercialization of Christmas had a profound impact on the way people celebrated the holiday. The focus shifted from religious observance and family togetherness to consumerism and spectacle. Christmas became a time not only for giving but also for buying, as consumers were encouraged to purchase gifts, decorations, and other products to mark the occasion. While gift-giving was always a part of Christmas traditions, the emphasis on shopping as a central holiday activity marked a significant shift in how the holiday was experienced. This consumer-driven approach led to the development of traditions like Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving in the U.S., which became synonymous with the start of the Christmas shopping season. In the decades following World War II, this commercialization of Christmas expanded even further, aided by the rise of television and the growing influence of mass media. Christmas-themed television specials, such as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer 1964, A Charlie Brown Christmas 1965, and How the Grinch Stole Christmas 1966, not only became beloved holiday classics, but also served as vehicles for marketing and product placement. These specials, with their emphasis on family, generosity, and holiday magic, reinforce emotional connection between Christmas and consumer culture. The characters, stories, and songs from these specials became embedded in the fabric of holiday advertising, ensuring that Christmas myths continue to evolve in ways that align with the growing consumer landscape. By the late 20th century, the commercialization of Christmas myths was in full swing, with a global marketplace eagerly embracing the holiday season. The Santa Claus myth, in particular, was deeply intertwined with this commercialization. Santa, once a purely religious and folk figure, had become an emblem of consumption, with retailers and advertisers using his image to sell everything from toys to cars to credit cards. Santa's role as the ultimate gift giver made him the perfect mascot for a holiday that was increasingly about the exchange of material goods. Advertisers used Santa to sell everything from clothes to electronics, often emphasizing the idea that the perfect gift could bring joy and fulfillment to loved ones. In this way, the mythology of Santa Claus became a central component of the consumerist ethos that dominated the holiday season. However, this commercialization of Christmas has not been without its critics. Over the years, many have raised concerns about the growing emphasis on materialism, particularly during the holiday season. Some argue that the commercialization of Christmas has led to a loss of the holiday's original meaning, transforming it from a celebration of religious faith and family into a marketing-driven spectacle. Critics also point to the environmental impact of the holiday season, with the mass production of goods, excessive packaging, and increased consumption contributing to waste and environmental degradation. In response to these concerns, some people have begun to embrace alternative Christmas celebrations, focusing less on gifts and more on experiences, charitable giving, and meaningful connections with loved ones. These movements reflect a desire to reclaim the holiday from the grip of consumerism and return to its roots as a time for reflection, generosity, and human connection. At the same time, the commercialization of Christmas has not been entirely negative. While it has undoubtedly altered the way people celebrate the holiday, it has also created opportunities for charitable giving and community engagement. Many companies and organizations use the holiday season to promote causes and raise money for charity. Santa Claus, in particular, has been used as a figure of goodwill in countless campaigns aimed at helping those in need. The image of Santa delivering gifts to children in need, or of companies donating a portion of their holiday profits to charity, reflects the holiday's continued association with generosity and kindness, even in the context of a consumer-driven economy. The commercial success of Christmas also extends to the entertainment industry, with Christmas-themed films, music, and merchandise becoming a major part of global culture. Movies like Home Alone 1990, Love Actually 2003, and The Polar Express 2004 have become staples of the holiday season, offering viewers a chance to reconnect with the magic of Christmas, even as the holiday's commercial aspects dominate the retail landscape. The release of Christmas albums by popular artists, the proliferation of Christmas-themed TV shows and advertisements, and the success of holiday-themed video games and toys all contribute to the growing commercialization of the season. In conclusion, the commercialization of Christmas myths is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, one that has deeply influenced how people experience the holiday season. From the rise of department stores and mass advertising to the global success of Christmas-themed media and consumer goods, Christmas has become a time not just for family and religious observance, but also for economic activity and consumer culture. While this commercialization has sparked debate about the true meaning of Christmas, it has also created a unique global holiday that unites people across cultures and countries, offering both joy and material abundance. Whether celebrated as a religious holiday, a family tradition, or a commercial spectacle, the myths surrounding Christmas continue to evolve, reflecting the changing values and economic realities of the modern world. As the world becomes increasingly globalized and the holiday season becomes more commercialized, the role of Christmas myths in modern society has sparked an ongoing debate about tradition versus consumerism. The figure of Santa Claus, the story surrounding St. Nicholas, the menacing Krampus, and the winter guardian Grandfather Frost all carry centuries of cultural and historical significance. These myths have, at their core, been vessels for teaching moral lessons, celebrating family bonds, and offering a break from the everyday world. However, in the 21st century, they have increasingly been integrated into the fabric of commercial capitalism, transforming the way they are perceived and celebrated. This shift raises questions about whether these myths are still serving their traditional roles, or they have been co-opted by consumerism in a way that diminishes their original cultural and spiritual meanings. The commercial shift that Christmas has undergone in the last century has certainly altered how Christmas myths are celebrated. The emphasis on gift-giving, the proliferation of Christmas marketing, and the relentless promotion of consumer products have led to the commercialization of what was once a more intimate religious or familial holiday. The Santa Claus figure, perhaps the most iconic symbol of Christmas, serves as an example of this transformation. What began as a Christian figure tied to the feast day of St. Nicholas, who was known for his generosity to children and the poor, has become a larger-than-life global marketing figure. His image has been crafted and refined by advertisements, particularly those of Coca-Cola in the 1930s, which helped shape the modern-day Santa we recognize, jolly, plump, and dressed in a red suit. While Santa's role as a gift-bringer to children remains central, much of the magic that once surrounded the mystery of his existence has been replaced with focus on material consumption and the act of shopping. On one hand, the commercialization of Christmas myths has made the holiday accessible to people of various cultures, religions, and backgrounds. Santa Claus, for example, has become a figure that is widely recognized around the world, and in many places his role as the central holiday figure has overshadowed local traditions and religious observances. In countries such as Japan, where Christmas is not a religious holiday, Santa Claus has been embraced as a symbol of joy, togetherness, and gift-giving, despite the fact that Christmas is primarily a secular celebration there. In other parts of the world, where traditional Christian or folk beliefs about Christmas figures, such as St. Nicholas or Krampus, still hold sway, the influence of global consumer culture has gradually seeped into these traditions as well, altering their meanings and cultural significance. In many ways, the international spread of these Christmas myths has allowed them to transcend their origins. St. Nicholas, Krampus, and Grandfather Frost have taken on new forms and functions as they move across borders, shaped by the values of societies that adopt them. For example, while the traditional role of St. Nicholas was that of a religious figure who rewarded good behavior, in modern times, this figure has morphed into Santa Claus, whose primary function is to deliver material goods to children around the world. The association of Santa with the act of gift-giving has, in turn, become one of the most heavily marketed aspects of the holiday season, with countless companies creating advertisements, TV specials, and merchandise all designed to promote the idea that Christmas is a time for giving, especially when it comes to consumer goods. The perfect gift has become the ultimate symbol of holiday success, and the pressure to buy expensive presents has turned Christmas into an economic event in many parts of the world. While this commercialization has undoubtedly led to increased economic activity, it has also led to critiques of how consumerism has overshadowed the more spiritual or familial aspects of Christmas. Many argue that the true meaning of Christmas, generosity, kindness, reflection, and togetherness, has been lost in the deluge of marketing campaigns, Black Friday sales, and the constant emphasis on purchasing. The pressure to buy expensive gifts, decorate homes with elaborate lights, and partake in holiday shopping sprees can create stress and anxiety, especially for those who struggle financially. This sense of obligation to spend money in order to have a good Christmas often detracts from the values that Christmas myths once conveyed. Instead of focusing on the message of selflessness and moral character that figures like St. Nicholas and Krampus embodied, the focus has shifted to how much one can buy or how extravagant the holiday celebrations can be. Moreover, this shift toward consumerism has raised questions about the sustainability of the way Christmas is celebrated today. The overproduction of goods for the holiday season, combined with the increasing demand for new gadgets, clothing, and toys, has led to significant environmental concerns. The sheer amount of waste generated during the holiday season, wrapping paper, plastic packaging, discarded decorations, and electronics, is staggering. Christmas has become a time not only of overconsumption, but also of excessive waste, which has prompted calls for more sustainable and eco-friendly ways to celebrate the holiday. Some have advocated for focusing on experiences rather than material gifts, such as spending time with loved ones, traveling, or donating to charity, as ways to retain the spirit of giving without contributing to the environmental harm caused by overconsumption. The commercial emphasis on Christmas myths also raises concerns about the commercialization of childhood itself. Figures like Santa Claus, once seen as magical and mysterious, have now become just another part of consumer landscape. Rather than serving as a figure who inspires wonder and imagination, Santa Claus has become a ubiquitous figure in advertisements, shopping malls, and television specials, making it increasingly difficult for children to see him as anything other than a marketing tool. The image of Santa on every store window, in every Christmas commercial, and on every toy box can strip away some of the mystery and excitement that once made his arrival on Christmas Eve so enchanting. This is not to say that children no longer believe in Santa Claus, but rather that the proliferation of his image as a marketing vehicle has diluted his once enigmatic presence. At the same time, many people continue to embrace the Christmas myths and traditions, even as they evolve in the context of modern consumer society. While the commercialization of Christmas has transformed how we celebrate, it has not completely replaced the deeper meanings of the holiday. For many families, the act of gift-giving is still an expression of love and care, not just an act of consumption. The myth of Santa Claus, despite its ties to retail, continues to provide a sense of magic and wonder, particularly for young children who still look forward to his arrival each year. In a similar vein, Grandfather Frost and St. Nicholas continue to serve as figures of joy and generosity in various cultures, even if their roles are intertwined with economic and social change. In addition, many individuals and organizations have sought to counteract the negative effects of consumerism by focusing on the more meaningful aspects of Christmas. From participating in charity drives to adopting sustainable gift-giving practices, there are growing efforts to reclaim Christmas as a time for connection, generosity, and reflection. This return to the roots of the holiday, focused on love, family, and community, can serve as a reminder that the true spirit of Christmas is not found in the things we buy, but in the relationships we nurture and the kindness we extend to others. In conclusion, the role of Christmas myths in modern society exists at the crossroads of tradition and consumerism. While these figures, St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Krampus, and Grandfather Frost, have evolved over time, their central themes of generosity, reflection, and community still resonate. However, as consumerism continues to shape how we celebrate, the original messages behind these myths are at risk of being overshadowed by the relentless focus on material wealth. Nevertheless, there remains a deep and abiding connection to the cultural and spiritual elements of Christmas that offer hope for a more meaningful celebration. one that balances the joys of giving with the importance of personal connection, moral lessons, and environmental sustainability. It is up to each generation to decide how to navigate this balance, ensuring that the enduring power of these Christmas myths continues to inspire and unite people around the world. The influence of popular culture and media on the evolution of Christmas myths cannot be overstated. Over the past century, the portrayal of Christmas figures like Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, Krampus, and Grandfather Frost has been deeply shaped by the entertainment industry, particularly through television, film, music, and advertising. These mediums have played a pivotal role in shaping the modern-day interpretation of these characters, often blending old traditions with new ideas to create iconic versions of holiday figures that have become deeply ingrained in the global consciousness. In the process, they have not only transformed how we celebrate Christmas, but have also influenced the cultural significance of the holiday itself, for better or for worse. The first significant impact of popular culture on Christmas mythology occurred with the rise of cinema and television in the early 20th century. The development of film and broadcast television allowed for the mass dissemination of Christmas stories, bringing characters like Santa Claus, Krampus, and St. Nicholas into the homes of millions of people. As these myths were portrayed on screen, they became part of the fabric of modern Christmas celebrations, influencing how they were perceived and how they evolved. Christmas films, in particular, played a critical role in the development of the holiday's mythology, especially in the United States. One of the earliest and most enduring Christmas films to have an impact on popular culture was A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, which has been adapted countless times for screen, stage, and television. The story of Ebenezer Scrooge, his transformation through the visits of the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and yet to come, and the enduring message of generosity and redemption became synonymous with the Christmas spirit. This tale emphasized themes of kindness, forgiveness, and family, resonating deeply with audiences across generations. Over time, adaptations of A Christmas Carol reinforced the idea of Christmas as a time for reflection, charity, and compassion. The figure of Santa Claus, with his generous gift-giving, is often seen as a symbolic extension of the Christmas spirit that Dickens' tale espoused. While A Christmas Carol was not directly about Santa Claus or Krampus, its themes helped to mold the way Christmas was celebrated in modern times, particularly the importance of generosity, family, and togetherness. In the mid-20th century, as television became a central part of American and European households, Christmas-themed programming reached an even broader audience. One of the most influential Christmas television specials was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 1964, which introduced a new generation to the story of Rudolph, the misfit reindeer who became the hero of Santa's sleigh team. The special, which was broadcast annually for decades, portrayed Rudolph's journey from rejection to acceptance, capturing the Christmas themes of inclusion, kindness, and the power of overcoming adversity. The image of Santa Claus in this special was one of the key versions of Santa that would come to dominate holiday media. Jolly, kind-hearted, and dedicated to spreading joy, Rudolph, alongside Santa, embodied the spirit of Christmas as a time for compassion and selflessness. Rudolph also reinforced Santa's role as a central figure in Christmas celebrations, making him the primary symbol of holiday magic for millions of viewers. Television continued to shape Christmas mythology through other specials, including A Charlie Brown Christmas, 1965, which offered a more philosophical take on the holiday. In this special, Charlie Brown's search for the true meaning of Christmas serves as a critique of the commercialization of the holiday. The character of Linus, reciting the biblical passage in the Gospel of Luke, reinforced the idea that Christmas should be about more than just material gifts and commercialism. While the figure of Santa Claus is not central to the special, the program emphasized the importance of love, family, and spirituality, pushing back against the overwhelming consumerism that was beginning to define Christmas in the 1960s. These messages were embedded in the cultural fabric of the holiday season and helped to reinforce the values that are still central to Christmas traditions today. By the 1980s and 1990s, Christmas movies became a staple of holiday entertainment, helping to shape the modern portrayal of Santa Claus and other Christmas figures. Films like Home Alone, 1990, and The Santa Claus, 1994, cemented Santa Claus's role as a central, almost mythical figure in American and global holiday celebrations. Home Alone introduced a new version of Christmas, with its slapstick comedy and the warmth of family togetherness, while also reinforcing the importance of love and home during the holidays. The Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen, reimagined the Santa Claus myth, suggesting that anyone could become Santa with the right heart and spirit. These films, along with other holiday classics, helped to create a new, modern narrative around Christmas mythology, one that mixed humor, heart, and holiday magic. As Christmas films and television shows continued to evolve, so too did the portrayal of other figures in Christmas mythology, such as Krampus. While Santa Claus became increasingly commercialized, Krampus remained a more niche figure, often portrayed as a terrifying contrast to Santa's jolly demeanor. In recent years, however, Krampus has experienced a resurgence in popular culture, with films like Krampus, 2015, and various television specials introducing the demon-like creature to a new generation of viewers. This resurgence is part of a broader trend where darker, more alternative Christmas characters have found a place in the cultural conversation. Krampus, as a figure who punishes misbehaving children, offers a stark contrast to Santa's benevolence, and his appearance in modern media reflects a desire to bring back some of the original fear and mystery that surrounded Christmas traditions in their earlier, pre-commercialized forms. The 21st century has also seen a broader reimagining of Christmas traditions in media, where the holidays myths are either parroted or given a fresh twist. Films like The Polar Express 2004, Elf 2003, and Bad Santa 2003 have all contributed to the ongoing evolution of Christmas myths by exploring themes of magic, commercialism, and the human side of Santa and other holiday figures. The Polar Express, with its mix of magical realism and modern animation, presented a vision of Santa Claus as a figure who transcends time and space, offering a sense of wonder and possibility. Elf brought a contemporary, humorous take on the Santa mythos, showing that even the most serious figures of holiday lore can be filled with joy, playfulness, and human vulnerability. These films, along with the resurgence of Krampus-themed media, show that Christmas myths are far from static. They continue to evolve and change as they are interpreted by new generations. Additionally, Christmas mythology has extended beyond films and television into the realm of online and social media. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok have become new spaces for reimagining and celebrating Christmas myths. DIY craft videos, holiday hauls, and influencer-led gift guides all serve as a way to create new interpretations of Christmas traditions. Santa Claus, Grandfather Frost, and even Krampus are now featured in memes, online challenges, and viral videos, contributing to the continued shaping of Christmas myths in ways that are far more interactive and decentralized than in the past. While many of these portrayals of Christmas myths are comedic or fantastical, they highlight a broader trend: the blending of traditional cultural symbols with modern sensibilities. Whether it is a continuing reverence for Santa Claus, the resurgence of interest in Krampus, or the evolution of Grandfather Frost, the figures at the heart of Christmas mythology have remained adaptable, reflecting changes in society, technology, and culture. In this sense, Christmas myths have become more than just a set of stories. They have become a canvas upon which contemporary society can paint its values, anxieties, and hopes. In conclusion, the evolution of Christmas myths through popular culture and media has shaped how we understand and celebrate the holiday. From the early influence of A Christmas Carol to the rise of Christmas films, television specials, and the resurgence of Krampus, media has been a powerful force in transforming these ancient traditions into modern-day cultural touchstones. These myths have adapted, morphed, and evolved over time, reflecting both societal changes and individual creativity. As media continues to evolve, so too will the portrayal of Christmas figures, ensuring that these timeless characters continue to inspire, entertain, and reflect the spirit of the holiday season for generations to come. The psychological impact of Christmas myths is profound, influencing the way children and adults experience the holiday season and, more broadly, their sense of wonder, morality, and cultural identity. From the early years of life, children are immersed in stories about Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, and other holiday figures, which shape their perceptions of good behavior, generosity, and the magic of the holiday season. For adults, these myths can invoke feelings of nostalgia, reinforce family traditions, and even serve as a means of social bonding. However, as the years go by, the emotional and psychological effects of these myths can change. While they might foster a sense of joy and excitement during childhood, they may also cause anxiety, disillusionment, or a sense of loss as children grow older and begin to question the reality of these figures. On a larger scale, Christmas myths, through their association with gift-giving, generosity, and moral behavior, also play a role in reinforcing societal values and expectations about how the holidays should be celebrated. For children, Christmas myths offer a unique psychological experience, filled with both the thrill of belief and the eventual challenge of disillusionment. From the first time a child hears the story of Santa Claus as magical reindeer, they enter into a world of fantasy and imagination where the laws of reality are temporarily suspended. These myths encourage children to believe in the possibility of magic, as Santa is portrayed as a benevolent figure who can travel the world in a single night, delivering gifts to millions of children. The idea of a jolly old man who knows whether you've been naughty or nice creates an aura of mystery and excitement, as children eagerly anticipate his visit. This belief fosters feelings of hope, wonder, and joy, as well as the anticipation of receiving gifts, which is a central part of the Christmas experience for many young people. The psychological benefits of believing in these Christmas myths can be significant. Research has shown that belief in magical figures like Santa Claus helps children develop cognitive skills like imagination, creativity, and abstract thinking. These myths encourage children to think beyond the ordinary world around them, sparking their imaginations and enhancing their ability to engage in fantasy play. Furthermore, Christmas myths often carry moral lessons that are important in shaping a child's development. The figure of Santa Claus, for example, is based on the idea of reward for good behavior, which teaches children the importance of kindness, generosity, and consideration for others. Santa's rule that only well-behaved children receive gifts reinforces the concept of positive reinforcement, where good deeds lead to rewards. Even though the story of Krampus involves fear and punishment, it teaches children that there are consequences for misbehavior, thus instilling a sense of moral responsibility. However, this period of belief in the magical aspect of Christmas inevitably comes to an end. As children grow older, they begin to question the reality of Santa Claus and other holiday figures, which can lead to feelings of confusion or disappointment. The process of disillusionment can be challenging for children, as they confront the realization that the world of magic they once believed in may not be as real as they thought. For some children, the discovery that Santa Claus is not real can cause them to feel betrayed or disillusioned, especially if they have been told elaborate stories or encouraged to keep the myth a secret. While the loss of belief in Santa Claus can be a bittersweet moment, it also marks an important developmental milestone as children transition from a world of fantasy to a more grounded understanding of reality. This process of coming to terms with the truth is a rite of passage for many, one that mirrors a gradual shift from childhood to adolescence. For adults, the psychological impact of Christmas myths takes on a different dimension. The magic and wonder of Christmas may fade over time, but the myths continue to play a significant role in shaping holiday traditions and rituals. For many adults, Christmas is no longer about the excitement of receiving gifts or the belief in Santa Claus, but rather about recreating the sense of joy and connection they experienced as children. The myths of Christmas, particularly those surrounding figures like St. Nicholas and Santa Claus, are often intertwined with family traditions that have been passed down through generations. This creates a sense of continuity, helping adults to maintain a connection to their childhood and to the cultural practices that have shaped their understanding of the holiday. The act of continuing these traditions, such as decorating the tree, leaving out cookies for Santa, or watching holiday films, helps to reinforce a sense of nostalgia and belonging. These traditions provide a comforting reminder of simpler times, offering a psychological anchor during a season that can be fraught with stress and pressure. Christmas myths also serve as a means of fostering social bonds among family and friends. The shared experience of celebrating Christmas, whether it involves gift-giving, festive meals, or communal activities, reinforces social connections and enhances feelings of solidarity. Adults often find psychological comfort in creating memories with loved ones, as these traditions help to maintain a sense of family identity and continuity. In a world where many people experience a sense of isolation or disconnection from their extended families, the rituals and myths of Christmas provide a much-needed opportunity for togetherness. The focus on family and community during the holiday season can act as a psychological balm for individuals who may be struggling with loneliness, family conflict, or personal challenges. However, for some adults, the commercialization of Christmas myths can lead to feelings of stress or frustration. The pressure to buy gifts, attend parties, and meet social expectations can cause anxiety, particularly for those who feel they are unable to live up to the idealized version of Christmas portrayed in the media. In these cases, the myths of Christmas, rather than providing joy, can exacerbate feelings of inadequacy or disappointment. The emphasis on materialism and consumerism, which often accompanies a holiday season, can overshadow the more meaningful aspects of Christmas, such as spending time with loved ones, reflecting on the past year, and giving back to those in need. This dissonance between the true meaning of Christmas and the pressures of modern consumer culture can lead to a sense of burnout or frustration, especially for those who feel that a holiday has become more about getting than giving. Moreover, the portrayal of idealized family gatherings and perfect holiday moments in films, advertisements, and social media can create unrealistic expectations for many adults. The myth of the perfect Christmas can put undue pressure on individuals to create flawless holiday experiences, which can be emotionally draining. This pressure may lead to feelings of inadequacy, particularly for those who are experiencing difficult life circumstances or who are unable to meet the financial or emotional expectations associated with the holiday season. The constant bombardment of perfect holiday imagery can make it difficult for people to embrace the more imperfect and human aspects of the holiday season, such as dealing with family tensions, coping with grief, or managing personal struggles. Despite these challenges, the psychological impact of Christmas myths can still be largely positive. For many, the holidays remain a time to reconnect with family, engage in acts of kindness, and participate in meaningful traditions. The presence of Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, and other figures serves as a reminder of the values of generosity, selflessness, and love. For those who struggle with the commercialization and stress of the season, returning to the roots of the Christmas myths, focused on giving, compassion, and togetherness, can provide a way to recapture the true spirit of the holiday. In conclusion, the psychological impact of Christmas myths on both children and adults is multifaceted. For children, these myths provide a source of wonder, imagination, and moral guidance, fostering creativity and teaching lessons about kindness and responsibility. As children grow older, the transition from belief to disillusionment can be a bittersweet but important part of their development. For adults, Christmas myths serve as a source of nostalgia, social connection, and continuity, reinforcing family traditions and fostering a sense of belonging. However, the commercialization of Christmas and the pressure to conform to idealized holiday images can also lead to stress, disillusionment, and unrealistic expectations. Despite these challenges, the enduring power of Christmas myths continues to shape the way we celebrate the holiday, offering a blend of magic, morality, and tradition that resonates across generations. The global spread and adaptation of Christmas myths reflect not only the universal appeal of the holiday, but also the ways in which cultural exchanges and globalization have shaped traditional folklore. Over time, Christmas, initially rooted in European Christian traditions, has transformed into a global celebration, with myths such as those surrounding Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, Krampus, and Grandfather Frost taking on new meanings and forms in diverse cultural contexts. As Christmas became more widely celebrated around the world, these myths adapted to local customs, beliefs, and social values, resulting in variations that reflect both the universal and particular aspects of the holiday. Understanding the global spread of Christmas myths involves looking at how different cultures have embraced, modified, or even rejected certain elements, all while maintaining the core themes of generosity, joy, and community that define the holiday season. The journey of Christmas myths from their European roots to other parts of the world began in the 19th and 20th centuries, particularly with European migration and the expansion of Western cultural influence. As Europeans, especially from countries like Germany, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom, settled in North America and other parts of the world, they brought their Christmas traditions with them, including the figures of St. Nicholas, Father Christmas, and later Santa Claus. These myths were quickly integrated into broader cultural fabric of places, like the United States and Canada, where they were further commercialized and popularized through media, advertising, and entertainment. Santa Claus, for instance, became a key symbol of American Christmas, particularly through his association with commercial advertisements and portrayal in popular culture, such as in Coca-Cola's famous holiday campaigns. The transformation of St. Nicholas into Santa Claus, for example, was influenced by multiple cultural layers. Dutch settlers in New York, formerly New Amsterdam, brought with them the legend of Sinterklaas, a kind and generous figure who would deliver gifts to children on the eve of St. Nicholas' feast day. Over time, this figure evolved into Santa Claus through a combination of Dutch, British, and American influences. By the early 20th century, with the help of mass media, Santa Claus became a commercial icon, heavily marketed as the central figure in Christmas celebrations. This American version of Santa Claus, with his red suit, jolly demeanor, and gift-giving mission, spread globally through movies, television shows, and advertisements, becoming the primary symbol of Christmas in many countries, regardless of their cultural or religious backgrounds. As Christmas myths spread beyond the United States and Europe, they encountered diverse cultural landscapes, each shaping and reshaping these stories to reflect local traditions. In Latin America, for example, Christmas traditions are deeply intertwined with Catholicism, and figures like El Niño Jesus, the baby Jesus, and Los Reyes Magos, the three wise men, play central roles in holiday celebrations. While Santa Claus is present in many parts of Latin America, especially in countries like Mexico, Argentina, and Brazil, the figure of Los Reyes Magos is often more prominent. On the night of January 5th, the three kings bring gifts to children, mirroring the tradition of the three wise men who brought gifts to the newborn Jesus in Christian theology. In some regions, children leave their shoes out to be filled with gifts, similar to the European tradition of hanging stockings for Santa Claus. This fusion of European Christmas myths with local customs results in a unique holiday experience that incorporates both the global and the local. In countries like Japan, where Christmas is not a religious holiday, the myths surrounding Santa Claus have taken on a different flavor. In Japan, the holiday is largely secular, and Santa Claus is seen more as a symbol of festive cheer than a religious figure. Santa's image, often portrayed in advertisements and stores, is part of the broader celebration of the holiday season, which includes decorations, gift-giving, and special meals, especially Christmas cakes. Interestingly, while Christmas is not rooted in Japanese religious practices, it has become a popular occasion for couples to celebrate, almost akin to Valentine's Day, with a focus on romance rather than religious or family aspects. This cultural adaptation demonstrates how Christmas myths, particularly those involving Santa Claus, can be reinterpreted to fit different social and cultural contexts. In Russia and several Eastern European countries, the figure of Grandfather Frost, dead Moros, has remained a central part of Christmas and New Year's celebrations. Unlike Santa Claus, Grandfather Frost is traditionally associated with New Year's Eve rather than Christmas, and he brings gifts to children, often accompanied by his granddaughter, Sneguraka, the Snow Maiden. The roots of Grandfather Frost go back to pre-Christian Slavic mythology, where he was seen as a winter deity who governed the cold months. With the arrival of Christianity in Russia, the figure of Grandfather Frost was incorporated into the Christmas and New Year celebrations, although his connection to the holiday was more secular than religious. In recent decades, the image of Grandfather Frost has become increasingly intertwined with Western-style Christmas celebrations, especially in cities where the influence of globalized Christmas traditions has grown. Yet, in more rural areas, traditional customs involving Grandfather Frost continue to be a staple of the winter holiday season. In Scandinavia, Christmas myths are a blend of both Christian and pre-Christian traditions. The Norse god Odin, associated with winter and the Yule season, is often cited as an early inspiration for the modern image of Santa Claus. Odin's role as a figure who travels the world on his horse, Sleipnir, delivering gifts, shares similarities with the modern Santa Claus sleigh ride. In countries like Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, traditions such as the Yule goat, a figure associated with both pre-Christian pagan celebrations and later Christmas traditions, have persisted alongside more contemporary Christmas myths. The Yule goat, in particular, is a symbol of the winter solstice and has undergone various adaptations over the centuries. In some parts of Scandinavia, the Yule goat was believed to be a gift bringer, similar to Santa Claus, while in other regions, the figure was associated with mischief or even as a symbol of agricultural fertility. These diverse mythological elements, drawn from both pagan and Christian traditions, have created a unique blend of stories that are distinct to the Scandinavian Christmas celebration. In the Alpine regions of Central Europe, the figure Krampus is perhaps one of the most distinctive and fascinating adaptations of Christmas mythology. Krampus, a horned, demonic figure who punishes naughty children, is a counterpart to the benevolent Saint Nicholas in countries such as Austria, Germany, and Hungary. While Santa Claus and Saint Nicholas reward good behavior, Krampus takes a more fearsome approach to discipline, serving as a reminder to children about the consequences of misdeeds. The figure of Krampus has remained an important part of the Christmas tradition in these regions, although in recent decades, the character has experienced a resurgence in popular culture, with Krampus-themed festivals, films, and television shows gaining popularity globally. This renewed interest in Krampus showcases how Christmas myths continue to evolve and adapt, with darker or more mischievous characters gaining traction in a modern world that often seeks to reassert older traditions and beliefs. The global spread of Christmas myths has also led to the incorporation of elements from other cultures, further enriching the holiday experience. In places like India and parts of Southeast Asia, Christmas is celebrated by Christian communities who bring their own regional flavors to the holiday. In India, for example, Christmas is celebrated with traditional foods, decorations, and church services, often blending local cultural elements, such as music and dance, with Western Christmas practices. In countries like the Philippines, Christmas is celebrated with a series of festive events, including the famous Simbang Gabi Midnight Mass and the Parol Christmas Lantern tradition, which reflects the country's unique fusion of Christianity and indigenous Filipino practices. Ultimately, the spread and adaptation of Christmas myths highlight both the flexibility and endurance of these stories. They have proven to be adaptable, able to morph and change as they travel across borders and cultures. Whether through the lens of commercialism, local folklore, or religious observance, Christmas myths continue to inspire millions of people around the world, connecting them through shared traditions while also allowing for cultural diversity and personal interpretation. As global communication and travel continue to increase, it is likely that these myths will continue to evolve, adapting to the changing values, beliefs, and needs of societies across the globe. The intersection of Christmas myths and religion is a fascinating and complex subject, one that reflects how cultural, historical, and theological forces have shaped the way people understand and celebrate Christmas today. While Christmas is primarily recognized as a Christian holiday that celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ, many of the myths and figures associated with the holiday, such as Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas, and even Krampus, have roots in pre-Christian and secular traditions. Over the centuries, these myths have become intricately intertwined with religious practices, sometimes enhancing religious observance, and at other times serving as counterpoints to the religious meaning of the holiday. The blending of Christian and non-Christian elements in the Christmas celebration highlights the ways in which traditions evolve, adapt, and at times challenge religious norms. The religious significance of Christmas lies at the heart of its origin as a Christian holiday. The celebration of Christ's birth, which has been observed by Christians since at least the 4th century, remains the central focus of Christmas for most Christians around the world. Theologically, Christmas is seen as a time to commemorate the incarnation of God in the person of Jesus Christ, a divine mystery that is central to Christian belief. Christmas services, readings from the Gospels, nativity scenes, and hymns all focus on the birth of Jesus and reflect the joy and hope that Christians associate with the arrival of the Savior. For many, the religious aspects of Christmas are still the most important, offering a time of reflection, gratitude, and spiritual renewal. However, the role of religious meaning in Christmas celebrations is complicated by the prominence of secular and folk traditions, many of which have little or no connection to the Christian faith. The most notable example of this is the figure of Santa Claus. While Santa Claus is based in part on the Christian Saint Nicholas, the modern-day Santa Claus has evolved into a secular figure whose role revolves around gift-giving, family traditions, and commercialism rather than religious devotion. In this sense, Santa Claus represents a departure from the religious focus of Christmas, as he is often portrayed in a manner that emphasizes materialism, consumerism, and the idea of Christmas as a time for festive fun, rather than spiritual reflection. For many, Santa Claus has come to symbolize the secular, commercialized aspect of Christmas that stands in contrast to its religious origins. The transformation of St. Nicholas into Santa Claus is a prime example of how Christmas myths have evolved beyond their religious roots. St. Nicholas was a 4th century Christian bishop known for his generosity and his concern for the poor, especially children. His feast day, December 6th, was traditionally celebrated with the giving of gifts, particularly to children, and the legend of St. Nicholas gradually evolved into a more widespread myth of Santa Claus. Over the centuries, particularly in Western cultures, Santa became less a religious figure and more of a popular, secular symbol of Christmas. While the origins of Santa Claus are religious, with his roots in Christian hagiography, his modern-day persona is largely divorced from religious meaning and instead focuses on his role in gift-giving and holiday joy. This shift from St. Nicholas to Santa Claus has led to some tensions within Christian communities, particularly among those who feel that the commercialization and secularization of Christmas have overshadowed its religious meaning. For some Christians, the figure of Santa Claus represents a distortion of the true meaning of Christmas. They argue that the focus on Santa and gift-giving detract from the spiritual message of Christ's birth, which is at the heart of the holiday. Some Christians have even called for a return to more religious observances of Christmas, such as attending midnight mass, reading the nativity story from the Bible, and focusing on charity and spiritual reflection rather than materialistic concerns. The increasing dominance of secular Christmas traditions in the media, retail advertising, and popular culture has intensified this debate, as the line between the religious and secular aspects of Christmas becomes more blurred. At the same time, there are many Christians who embrace the secular aspects of Christmas, including Santa Claus, as part of a broader cultural celebration of the holiday. For these individuals, the presence of Santa Claus and other secular figures does not diminish the religious meaning of Christmas, but rather complements it. The gift-giving tradition, they argue, is an expression of the Christian values of generosity, love, and kindness, and can be a way of honoring the spirit of Christ's birth. For some, Santa Claus serves as a bridge between the religious and secular aspect of Christmas, helping to create a sense of community and joy that transcends denominational or cultural differences. The blending of the sacred and the secular, they believe, is a reflection of the inclusive and generous spirit of Christmas. The tension between secular and religious elements of Christmas is also evident in the figure of Krampus, the dark and mischievous counterpart to St. Nicholas. Krampus is a figure from Central European folklore who punishes naughty children during the Christmas season, and his role stands in stark contrast to the benevolent and gift-giving nature of Santa Claus. While Krampus is not directly tied to Christian theology, his association with St. Nicholas makes him a part of the broader Christmas mythology. For many, Krampus represents the fear and moral discipline that were once central to Christmas traditions, but have been largely overshadowed by the more joyful and commercialized aspects of the holiday. Some Christians view the figure of Krampus as a reminder of the moral lessons that Christmas is meant to impart, while others see him as an unnecessary and unsettling distortion of the holiday's message of love and goodwill. For people in the Orthodox Christian tradition, the religious significance of Christmas remains more pronounced. In countries like Russia, Greece, and Serbia, Christmas is celebrated according to the Eastern Orthodox Church calendar, which places the feast of Christ's birth on January 7th. Orthodox Christians observe a more solemn and liturgical celebration of Christmas, focusing on the nativity story, the mystery of the Incarnation, and the theological importance of Christ's birth. In these traditions, Christmas myths often take a back seat to religious observance, with a focus on church services, fasting, and prayer leading up to the holiday. Yet, even in Orthodox communities, the influence of secular traditions, such as gift-giving and festive meals, has grown in recent years as Western-style celebrations have become more prevalent. The intersection of Christmas myths and religion is not limited to Christianity alone. In many parts of the world, Christmas has been embraced by other religious communities, particularly those with large Christian populations. For example, in predominantly Muslim countries such as Indonesia, Pakistan, and Egypt, Christmas is celebrated by Christian minorities, but also acknowledged by the broader society. In these contexts, Christmas myths are often adapted to reflect local customs and religious beliefs. In some places, the focus on Santa Claus and gift-giving may overshadow religious observance, while in others, the religious aspect of Christmas may remain central. In countries with large Jewish or Hindu populations, Christmas is sometimes seen as a cultural or secular event rather than a religious one, and the myths surrounding Santa Claus and other figures are embraced as part of the global celebration of the holiday season. In conclusion, the intersection of Christmas myths and religion is complex and multifaceted, reflecting the ways in which cultural, historical, and theological factors have shaped the celebration of Christmas. While the religious meaning of Christmas remains central for many, the secularization of the holiday, driven by figures like Santa Claus and the commercialization of the season, has led to tensions between the sacred and the secular. For some, this evolution represents a dilution of Christmas's spiritual significance, while for others, it is an opportunity to celebrate the holiday in a more inclusive and joyful way. As Christmas continues to be celebrated around the world, its myths will continue to evolve, shaped by the diverse religious, cultural, and social contexts in which they are observed. The blending of these various traditions, both religious and secular, is part of what makes Christmas such a rich and enduring holiday for people of all backgrounds and beliefs. The role of Christmas myths in modern consumerism and commercialization has transformed the holiday into a global phenomenon driven as much by economic forces as by religious or cultural traditions. What was once a deeply religious celebration marking the birth of Jesus Christ has, for many, become an event characterized by shopping sprees, consumer goods, advertisements, and a focus on materialism. The commercialization of Christmas, while not new, has evolved significantly in the past century, particularly in the wake of mass production, the rise of consumer culture, and the growth of global trade. As the myths surrounding Christmas figures like Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, and others have evolved, they have become deeply intertwined with economic imperatives, shaping not only the way people celebrate, but also the way the holiday is marketed and consumed. One of the most obvious ways that Christmas myths have been integrated into consumerism is through the figure of Santa Claus. Originally derived from the legend of St. Nicholas, a Christian bishop known for his generosity and gift-giving, Santa Claus in his modern form has become one of the most recognizable symbols of the holiday. Over the past century, Santa has evolved from a religious figure into a commercial one, especially in the United States and other Western countries. Santa's association with gift-giving, particularly through the idea that he brings presents to children on Christmas Eve, fits seamlessly into the modern economic system, where retail sales during the holiday season account for a significant portion of annual profits for many businesses. The transformation of Santa Claus into a commercial icon is most notably associated with advertising campaigns, particularly those of Coca-Cola in the 1930s. Coca-Cola's advertising depicted Santa as a jolly, rotund man in a red suit, which became the standard image of Santa that persists today. While Santa's appearance and behavior had already been shaped by various artists and writers, Coca-Cola's portrayal of him helped cement the modern image of Santa Claus as a cheerful, benevolent figure who epitomizes the joy of giving. The company's iconic holiday advertisements, which featured Santa enjoying a Coke, became a part of the annual rituals of preparing for the holiday season. These ads not only reinforce the image of Santa Claus, but also link the consumption of a particular product to the spirit of Christmas, embedding Coca-Cola's brand within the fabric of Christmas celebrations. Santa Claus's role in commercializing Christmas is further reinforced by the retail industry, which has capitalized on his image to sell everything from toys to clothing to decorations. The Santa Claus effect on consumer behavior is evident in the way that holiday marketing encourages people to buy gifts, often presenting these purchases as expressions of love, generosity, and holiday cheer. The marketing of Christmas presents a vision of the holiday season in which the giving of gifts is central, with advertisements highlighting the emotional fulfillment that comes from buying the perfect gift for loved ones. This creates a sense of urgency among consumers, who are often encouraged to spend more than they might have originally planned, contributing to the economic growth that occurs during the Christmas season. Retailers rely heavily on the months leading up to Christmas to generate a significant portion of their annual sales, with Black Friday and Cyber Monday becoming major shopping events in the United States and around the world. In addition to encouraging gift-giving, the commercialization of Christmas has extended to nearly every aspect of the holiday, including food, clothing, travel, and entertainment. Holiday-specific products such as Christmas-themed food, beverages, clothing, and even music have become integral parts of the seasonal experience. Supermarket stock shelves with Christmas cookies, candies, and other festive treats, while department stores feature Christmas-themed clothing, ornaments, and decorations. In many parts of the world, Christmas music plays on a loop in stores, creating a festive atmosphere that encourages consumers to associate the holiday with a sense of enjoyment and abundance. The idea that Christmas is a time of indulgence in both food and material goods is further reinforced by media portrayals of the holiday, from movies to TV specials to commercials. Moreover, the commercialization of Christmas has impacted how people experience the holiday itself. The cultural emphasis on gift-giving and material displays of affection can lead to a sense of pressure, both financially and emotionally, as individuals and families feel obligated to live up to expectations about how Christmas should be celebrated. The focus on gifts and consumer goods can overshadow the more spiritual or familial aspects of Christmas, causing some to feel disappointed or stressed when they are unable to meet the demands of a commercialized holiday. The pressure to purchase expensive gifts, attend multiple social events, and create a picture-perfect holiday experience can lead to feelings of burnout and anxiety, especially in the face of economic uncertainty or personal financial struggles. This pressure is amplified by the way in which Christmas myths have been integrated into the retail experience. The image of Santa Claus as a figure who rewards good behavior with gifts has been appropriated by the commercial sector, turning the act of gift-giving into a transaction that is both emotional and economic. The belief in Santa Claus for children is closely tied to the expectation of receiving presents. In many ways, this reinforces the idea that Christmas is about material rewards rather than spiritual or personal reflection. While some families may focus on the deeper meaning of Christmas, whether through religious observance or family traditions, the overarching narrative presented by advertising and commercial interests is one where Christmas equals buying, gifting, and consuming. This narrative leaves little room for alternative interpretations of the holiday, particularly for those who may prefer a more minimalistic or meaningful approach to celebration. The commercialization of Christmas has also led to an increasing blurring of boundaries between secular and religious aspects of the holiday. While Christmas originally began as a religious holiday celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, the emphasis on consumerism has made the religious meaning of Christmas more difficult to access for many people. For some, the religious aspect of Christmas has become secondary to the ritual of gift exchanges, festive dinners, and decorating the home with lights and ornaments. The commercial pressure to buy presents, attend parties, and celebrate in a certain way often crowds out spiritual reflection or participation in religious services. Christmas, for many, has shifted from being a holy day to a holiday, a time of fun, consumption, and socializing rather than prayer, introspection, or worship. However, the commercialization of Christmas is not universally viewed in a negative light.